Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to BC Wrestle Pod. Tonight, we are here with the Takedown Troop, your weekly TNA wrestling post show. My name is Mikey. I am El Jefe of BC Wrestle Pod, and tonight I'm going to be doing a quick solo review. Not only am I going to be covering the Thursday, August 20th edition of TNA Wrestling, but because this is our go home edition, I will also be making our predictions I'll be making my predictions for TNA Lockdown, which is happening this Sunday. So, unfortunately, my co host, Radio Free Will, is out doing some other things at the Mummy. So yeah, so let's just get into this, shall we? You already know where you can see us go live at BC WrestlePod is our socials. We have merch. We have a coffee bot to help us pay for pay-per-views. Um, no, not really. I'm cool with it. Life happens. My other co-host can't be here, but hey, I'm gonna rock it. So let's do it. Alrighty. So I'm going to talk about the Thursday, August 20th edition of TNA first. So let's get into it. This is going to be a bit of the shorter end because we really didn't get too much in terms of development. Um, so let's get into it. So TNA this week kicks off with a state of the address from the leader of Order 4 and the person who will be challenging John Schuyler for no, not John Schuyler. Jason Hotch for no, it is Schuyler. My bad. He'll be challenging for the TNA International Champion. I've watched so much wrestling this week; everything blends together. And so, basically, what this opening segment boils down to is that Mustafa Ali forces Order 4 member Jason Hodge and John Schuyler's tag team partner of the Good Hands or the Great Hands. You're gonna fight him tonight as a test of loyalty. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, okay, well, we're going to see how this goes. So we cut backstage after this. Yeah, this opening segment wasn't too much. I kind of narrowed it down and boiled it down, but that is exactly what it was. But backstage, we have our TNA International Champion talk about how he doesn't want to fight his tag team partner and he's not going to. And he's telling this to Gia Miller, our lovely backstage correspondent. Hey, what's up, new friendo? Thank you for tuning in. I am currently talking about the Thursday, August 20th edition of TNA Wrestling. So thank you for popping in and saying hey. Anywho, so tells Gia Miller that he's not going to, wrestle his tag team partner. But then our backstage correspondent, our talent relations, the suit Daria Ray comes in and says, "You don't have a choice. He's going to," and that's kind of settles that. So later in the show, we're going to see this match, and I'm going to save my thoughts for it because I already knew that some shenanigans were going to happen, and yeah, we'll talk about it when we get there. But right now, let's get into our first official match that opened our first official match for this episode of TNA, which sees Rich Homie Swan with BDE taking on the Elegance Brands, Mr. Elegance, of course, with the concierge, George Eitman. And look, my feelings of Mr. Elegance have been made. I'm not the biggest fan of his shtick, but hey, you know what? We get what we get. I like Rich Swan. I really like BDE. I'm kind of glad they're kind of teaming together a little bit. The match itself was pretty good. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, it was nothing too crazy to write home about, but I thought it was a solid bout. And again, I really like Rich. Mr. Elegance's character, at least, is not my cup of tea, but I do appreciate, he actually can wrestle when he puts his mind to it. But my biggest surprise here is not the fact that Rich Swan won, because he won this match, and that's not the surprise. The surprise fact is that Rich Swan is the person to give Mr. Elegance his first loss in TNA since being part of the company, which I had to rack my brain a little bit and be like, that's right. Mr. Elegance has never truly lost a match in TNA since joining the company, and Rich Swan is the first one to give him his actual first loss here in TNA. So It's yeah, it was bizarre. I was like, "No way." And then I was like, "Nope, actually that kind of tracks." But Rich Swann beats Mr. Elegance in a pretty decent bout. After the match, though, we had Vincent and Dutch of The Righteous come out and kind of just watch on as they are watching BDE and Rich Swann celebrating in the ring. So we're going to talk about this more when I give my predictions for Lockdown. But we're getting a match between the Righteous and BDE and Rich Swann, and I'm gonna put a pin in it and get into more details as to why I thought it was a shame that we didn't get more development for this story going into the pay-per-view. But we're gonna talk about it during predictions because right now we have to talk about our second match of the evening, which was our final semifinal match of the Knockouts Television Championship Tournament. The winner is gonna go on to face M by Elegance in the finals. And so in this semifinal, we have, of course, representing the Elegance brand, Heather by Elegance. And she is taking on the newcomer of TNA who's been in here for a couple of months now, Miss Jada Stone. Um, this was actually a really fun bout. I really enjoyed this tournament and I really enjoyed this match. Now, Heather by Elegance takes a little bit of the offense to begin with, and she's in control for a little bit. But then Jada Stone comes out swinging with a fiery baby face energy. It's a really decent back and forth, and Jada Stone gets the win. So we are going to get the finals next week to crown our inaugural Knockouts Television champion. And it is going to be Jada Stone versus M by Elegance. So that is going to happen next Thursday on TNA. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all goes down and how it all plays out. But I'm excited. I kind of want to see the I it's weird because I was kind of rooting for Heather this whole entire tournament, and I would have loved to see an all Elegance brand finals with Heather by Elegance winning to become the Knockouts television champion. But because it's M by Elegance and Jada Stone, well, I really do like M by Elegance. I think she's really good. I'm kind of rooting for Jada here. I think having a baby face to be the inaugural Knockouts television champion, where basically it is you defend this on TNA television in a 10 or 15-minute match. I think is really good for someone like Jada who's still getting her feet wet here in TNA, and it could be really fun. So I'm gonna root for Jada on this one. Oh well, looks like my camera is being a little turd today, so let's see if we can fix that. All right, there we are. Hi, guys. I'm back. Alrighty, but like I said, Jada Stone picks up the victory over Heather by Elegance. It is going to be Jada Stone and M by Elegance next week on Thursday to crown our inaugural Knockouts Television champion. After this match, though, we get the Zoom call of the century, but not really. So, because of their brawl from last week's episode, in order to keep these two separate so we don't have another brawl on our hands, TNA Knockouts champion Zaya Brookside and her lockdown challenger Elena Black have a final face to face over a Zoom call. You know, Elena Black cracking some jokes at Zaya's expense. Zaya saying that Elena is just jealous and she will never reach this title. Elena saying, "Yeah, I cracked some jokes at your expense, but I am dead serious about getting that title. And me and you inside this cage at lockdown, no escape, no nonsense. Only one of us is leaving, and it's going to be me." And Zaya says that you best become correct. And Zaya tells Elena that she's going to walk out and retain her championship and prove that Elena is nothing more than all talk. I honestly don't know who's going to end up winning this match, but I'm going to say more about it in my predictions. It's really interesting that we have a whole entire Zoom call, which is funny. But yeah, this wasn't the worst thing. This isn't the worst thing I saw, but really, of all the matches that are happening at Lockdown, this build has kind of been the weirdest to me, in my personal opinion. But you know, neither here nor there. So more on this in predictions. But after our Zoom call, we go backstage. The Elegance brand is not really having a great night. Mr. Elegance lost, giving his first loss in TNA. Heather by Elegance is knocked out of the tournament. So things are not looking too good for the Elegance brand on this episode, but they try to refocus as the Elegance girls have their match at Lockdown against Ali and Rosemary for the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Championships. More on that in predictions, though. But yeah, just a rallying cry from the girls, and they're trying to refocus to get ready for Sunday. We get into our next match, which is a lethal lockdown advantage match. So the winning so the person who wins this match will gain the numbers advantage in lethal lockdown on uh Sunday. So that means that they they will get the first member in. So lethal lockdown starts as a one-on-one, and then the winning team here would get their second member in. So then we would stagger in. So we have Fabian Eichner taking on Brian Myers again. We have seen iteration of this a lot. So really solid match though. I really did like it. This was a quick bout. Brian Myers would pick up the victory here. So the system have the advantage going into lethal lockdown on Sunday. So that means that when we get person number 3 entering the cage, they will end up having a 2-on-1 advantage going in. So more on that a little bit later. Jason Hodge versus John Schuyler gets like maybe a couple of minutes before Mustafa Ali comes in and just decimates and causes the DQ, which I already knew shenanigans were going to happen. Hi, Erica. It's been a hot minute. Thank you for stopping by really quickly. I'm just talking about the Thursday, August 20th edition of TNA Wrestling. This is a go home show. So, this is the last show before the pay per view this weekend. So, I'm just going over the episode and then I'm going to be making my predictions for the lockdown pay per view. But like I said, Jason Hodge and John Schuyler, this match doesn't get too far because Mustafa Ali comes in to cause a DQ, destroys our TNA International Champion, and holds the championship above before leaving. So I'm pretty sure that this is a safe bet that our champion is going to retain, but TNA has done crazier things in the past. So we'll talk about more of that when we get to predictions here in a couple minutes. But right now, we got to talk about this. This has been the weirdest storyline going on right now in TNA currently because the fact of the matter is that TNA has been hemorrhaging talent since the beginning of this year and technically since the end of last year, too. So the fact that because all this talent is requesting and being granted their releases from their contracts from TNA to go wrestle other places, the fact that Harley Hudson is being given this story where if she loses this match, she's done, she's fired from TNA, she's gone from the company. When you have we have so many talents that have already left. It is insane to me that you want to put this as a storyline when we've lost a good chunk of our women's our knockouts roster over this year, but whatever. I'm really happy though that Harley won. I really think that she's one of the few bright spots left in the knockouts division that's new and that's fresh. The fact that she is our gut check winner, so that means she was guaranteed a contract. And so now she's finally able to get more TV time, which is great. She beats Alicia Edwards. I really hope they give Harley a push. I want to see her more on TV. Let her feud for the Knockouts Television Championship against whoever wins next Thursday. But the system, more so Alicia Edwards and Brian Myers, beat up on Harley after she wins the match. Jada Stone runs in for the save, and the two reconcile. Honestly, I think Jada should win the belt next week, and then her and Harley can feud, and I think that would be a fun feud for both of them. But nothing to write home about in this particular match. Harley wins, she gets to keep her job, and we'll see where goes for her now that she is quote unquote still in TNA. And I put that in air quotes because this whole entire story for her has been done. Alrighty, main event time. Y'all already know how this mostly goes when we get into these pay-per-views. We get all bunch of people that are involved in matches at the pay-per-view and we put them in a multi-person tag team match. So in this case, we have three of our matches all represented here on the face team. What's up, the L Juggalo? Thank you for being here. Huh, Bloody Mania 19. I'm not too familiar and I don't really watch if that you're referring to JCW. I don't really keep up with JCW like that. But hey, I know people like it and I'm not going to knock on somebody's fun. So that should be fun. Oh, really quickly. So from what I know, EC3 is going to be in the main event. Okay, cool. I'm not the biggest fan of EC3, but you know what? I don't hate him either. So I'm like, but hey, you know what? As long as he's getting work, I'm cool with that. And then to bring back Erica's point from the Hardy Boys to the Hardy retirement home. Okay, so back to this match, right? We have on the babyface side of things, we have Elijah, Moose, and our TNA World Champions, the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff Hardy, taking on the heel team of AJ Francis, Frankie Kazarian, and Nick and Ryan Nemeth. Um, so yeah, this is going to be interesting for sure. Cool, that should be fun. Nice. Anyway, continuing with this match. This match was the longest on the card, but doesn't surprise me given who's on here. This was fine. I know that when it comes for these multi-person tags, it follows the same formula in TNA, which I don't mind, honestly. It's like everybody gets, we start off slow, baby faces get the advantage, heels then take the advantage, and then towards the end, everyone spams a finishing move, so everyone gets their stuff in until we get to the final stretch. The babyface team of the Hardys, Elijah and Moose, end up picking up the victory here. Then, before the show goes off the air, we have Cedric Alexander, our current X Division champion, uh, knocked out backstage. So, over the last couple of weeks, we've had people being attacked backstage. And this is, I don't know. I hope this leads to somebody being debuting. I don't know how this is all going to go down, but the point being is that will this affect what's going on Sunday for lockdown? Who knows? We're going to see how that all plays out. But that is it for my go home portion of the show tonight. Again, this was a pretty short episode for TNA. Not a lot of things happened. We've got some final promos and some final matches in before the pay per view this Sunday. So, yeah, the show was fine. I don't think it was the greatest thing on the planet, but it is what it is, and it sets us up. And it was the let's try not to get anybody hurt before the pay per view type of show, and that's fine. Now that we are done with the regular post show, let me switch over. We are officially beginning the predictions for TNA Lockdown. So, TNA Lockdown is the second pay per view happening this year in our TNA Wrestling Predictions League. So, our first one was Slammiversary, which was in June. So, now we are here in August for Lockdown. So, if you are unfamiliar with the concept of lockdown in TNA, all the matches on the main card are in a steel cage, and some of them are regular cage matches, some of them have different stipulations, and we're going to go over them. The pay per view is taking place this Sunday, August 23rd, and from Chicago, Illinois, and it is going to be starting at 5 p.m. Well, the countdown starts at 5 p.m. Eastern, so 2 p.m. Pacific with a 3 p.m. start time, which is very interesting. So I'm going to go through the matches that are on the countdown and the main card, and we're going to make some predictions. So here we go. We're going to start with the countdown, and the first match I'm going to discuss is the Righteous, so Vincent and Dutch, taking on BTE and Rich Homie Swan. I honestly think it was such a disservice to everybody in here that we didn't get a proper on-screen build. The premise of this is the righteous think that Rich Swann is impeding BDE from growth and discovering more, and the righteous are hoping that he will come to enlightenment and join them. And honestly, it's been intriguing, but a lot of this buildup has been on exclusive backstage social media videos. And then we got like one promo from the Righteous on this go home show. And honestly, I think it could have been interesting, but when you got everything else going on, this got the back burner. As much as I would like to see BDE and Rich Swann win, I am going to go with the Righteous here. I think now that the Righteous are out of their feud with the Hardys for now, I think we need to start building them back up as a credible threat in TNA. And honestly, I think BDE questioning his own, ability. It could be a fun storyline with Rich Swann being the foil in all of this. So I'm going to go with the Righteous here, and I hope TNA gets it right. Now we get into our second match on the Countdown show. So we got a returning Trey Miguel taking on Special Agent Zero of Order 4. Now, this match was made officially last week as BTE and Rich Swann took on the system, but they had a mystery partner, which was a returning Trey Miguel. Trey has been out on injury for the last couple of months, so I am personally happy to see him back. But he got attacked by Special Agent Zero after the match last week. And so he calls out Special Agent Zero for a match at Lockdown, and therefore we're getting this match on the Countdown show. I have Trey Miguel winning. I don't think he's going to lose upon his return from injury. And then I think TNA should push him either back to the International Championship, or if they want to give him something else like X Division or World Title. Actually, X Division would be good for him right now. So we'll see how that goes. But I got Trey Miguel winning. Now let's get into the main card. So these matches are in no particular order. I only know what is main eventing the show thanks to TNA, but I don't know the rest of the order of the main card. But we're going to go in no particular order, and we're going to start with our TNA X Division Championship match. Now, originally, this is just going to be a regular steel cage match, which is going to be crazy. But now, the stipulation for this match, it is now a last man standing match. So, don't know why we didn't lead with this, but it is what it is. So, we have our current X Division champion, Cedric Alexander, taking on the former X Division champion, Leon Slater. So, this match is very interesting, not only because this is a last man standing match, but there was a stipulation that Cedric Alexander had Leon Slater agree to in order for this match to happen. If Leon Slater loses this match, his X Division Championship reign gets erased from TNA history. So to put this into some context, Leon Slater currently is tied for the longest X Division Championship reign in TNA's history. It is him and Austin Aries who have tied for the longest X Division Championship reign. And if Leon loses this match, his title reign gets erased, which means that it will be like he never won the championship, which means that Austin Aries would be the sole longest reigning X Division champion in this company's history. Now, TNA has made some questionable decisions in this year, but this one baffles the hell out of my mind. And I'm just sitting here and I'm just like, oh my God, there's a possibility that they would pull this kind of crap. Against my better judgment, though, I cannot bet against the youngest in charge. So I am going to go with Leon Slater here, only because I really don't want his X Division Championship reign to be erased from TNA. But we're going to see how this goes down. But I have Leon Slater being the winner here. Moving on, next up, we have our TNA Knockouts World Championship. So this is the champions, Ali, and a mystery partner taking on the Elegance brand. So Heather by Elegance and M by Elegance. Now, Rosemary, Ali's partner, has been um has been missing, and Ali has been looking for her. So she's been missing. She's been leaving clues for Ali. I think the mystery partner is going to be a different version of Rosemary. So I don't think the Elegance brand is going to take titles from Ali and Rosemary. So I have Ali and her mystery partner winning this match. Moving on to our next one, we have our TNA International Championship match. Champion Jason Hodge taking on challenger Mustafa Ali. Again, this is a rematch. I really enjoyed the story we've been getting since Jason Hodge won the title about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And so essentially, Mustafa Ali gets his rematch here. I think it's going to be another fun match. I have Jason Hodge retaining. I don't think they're going to take the title off him quite yet. And hopefully, this continues the disintegration of Order 4 so everyone involved goes their separate ways. Next up, we have our TNA Knockouts World Championship match. I'm going to be honest, this has not been my favorite build of all the matches going into lockdown. We literally probably built this like in the last 2 weeks. Elena Black is challenging champion Zaya Brookside. As much as I would love to see Elena win, I'm going to pick Zaya to retain the championship here. But then you run into the problem because if Zaya retains, there really isn't many knockouts left. There's no Lang Lee to come after the title. If Elena loses, the only other person left that I can think of is it Indy Hartwell versus Zaya Brookside. But other than that, there's no one really left to take on Zaya because this Knockouts division is running on Skeleton Crew right now. If you're not in the Knockouts tag team division, you're here in the singles division, and there's not a lot of women left. Maybe we could see like the newly signed Gabby Forza come in soon or something, but we gonna see how that works out. But I got Zaya Brookside retaining, unfortunately. I don't think that Elena is going to win here, but crazier things has happened. So I honestly think this could be 50-50, but for the sake of things, I'm going to go with Zaya. Next up, we have a lethal lockdown match, which essentially is just a cage match. So we will start with one person from Team Babyface and then one person from the system. And then because Brian Myers won the advantage on the go home show, that means that the next person to enter the cage is another member of the system. And then Babyface, and we keep going back and forth until all 8 people are in the ring. And then first to pin or submit in the cage is the winner. So you have the system, which is Brian Myers, Eddie Edwards, Bear Bronson, and Alicia Edwards. And they are taking on the babyface team of Fabian Eichner, Casey Navarro, Ricky Sosa, and Jada Stone. So it should be an interesting match. And I'm gonna go with the babyface team. I'm gonna pick Fabian, Casey, Ricky, and Jada. I think that it's gonna do more for them to win than the system winning. But again, TNA loves the system. And so they have won in places where they actually shouldn't, in my personal opinion. But regardless, I am going to go with Ricky Sosa. I'm going to take the team of Ricky Sosa, Casey Navarro, Fabian Eichner, and Jada Stone. Um, Sorry, I had a brain fart, and I was also texting somebody about these things, so my bad. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the babyface team. I think they have more to win this match than the system does. But hey, you know what? TNA loves giving the wins to the system, so we'll see what happens on Sunday. Next up, we have the final encore, which God, I am hoping that this is the final between the two, not because it's bad. And but they've had like 2 matches before, so I'm really hoping that this is going to be it. And they both can move on to different feuds. Um, they're 1-1 apiece, so I'm gonna go with Elisha here. I think Elisha should win this match, but honestly, this has been another feud as silly as it has been of how we've been doing this feud and how it started. I actually think this is a pretty fun feud, and I am gonna go with Elijah here. I think he should win this match and hopefully both of them can move on to different programs that continues to evolve them over the course of everything. Now we're getting down to brass tacks. Next up, we have our escape the cage match, which is, as it says, escape the cage means that you have to win this match, you have to escape the cage, and that is the only way you get to win this match. And so here we have Moose taking on Frankie Kazarian. I've not been the biggest fan of this build either. It's been a weird build. It's like, we don't have anything for you two to do, so y'all gonna fight. And I'm like, okay. Um, so I'm gonna pick Moose here to win. I think that Moose should win here. Frankie can afford a loss, so this should be very interesting to see. And yeah, there's nothing else much to say about this. I hope we give something more substantial to Moose and Frankie for that matter, but we'll see what happens. Finally, TNA has officially confirmed that this is our main event of the show. This is going to be the Hardys defending the TNA World Tag Team Championship against the Nemeth. So, our TNA World Champion, Nick Nemeth, is teaming up with his brother to try to win the tag team titles. Why not? um, Without getting ripped apart by the internet, my feelings on the Hardys have already been expressed on this channel. Me and Radio Will have really been, you know, we've let our feelings be known of how we feel about the Hardys just dominating the tag team divisions, but I don't want to talk about that here. I don't foresee them losing these tag team championships. Now, the only way I see the Nemeths winning this match and becoming tag team champions is if Leon Slater wins the match, becomes X Division champion, and then immediately after Nick Nemeth and Ryan Nemeth win, he cashes in option C of the X Division championship to become world champion. So we're gonna see how that all goes down. But yeah, but for right now, I have the Hardys winning this match because statistically speaking, they are more successful in defending their titles than not. So I think the Hardys win here. But yeah, those are my TNA lockdown predictions. And that brings me to the end of our TNA wrestling post show. Honestly, this was a pretty good. I think I did a good job. But that's going to be it for me here tonight, and that wraps up BC Wrestle Pod for the week. So next week we have a full lineup, as we are going to be doing something pretty much every single day during the work week. So, to kind of give you a little bit of a preview, Monday night, Benny and I will be here to talk about Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view. So, I am looking forward to watching that a little bit later, and that should be a fun time. And we're going to talk about the pay-per-view. Do we have new champions? Or do we have developments of certain things? Tune in Monday to find out. Then Tuesday is our AEW post show. It is also the go home AEW post show, as Benny and I will be talking about Dynamite and Collision, and then we will also be making our predictions for AEW All In, which is happening next weekend. So I'm very excited about that. Wednesday night, you're serving up a double dose. As always, first and foremost, we have our NXT post show, as Kilt and I will be talking about NXT, and also that is the go home show for NXT, as we will also be making our predictions for NXT's next pay-per-view next weekend, Heat Wave. So that should be really fun. And then, of course, Papa Oso and I will be here to talk about CMLL as we inch ever so closely to the 93rd Aniversario show happening in 2 weeks, I believe. So that should be a good time. Then on Thursday, I will be here to do a solo review for Stardom's 5-star GP finals. So the tournament's been happening all summer, and we're going to see who is crowned our 5-star GP winner. So that should be a lot of fun. And then finally on Friday, Radio Will and I will be here to do our TNA lockdown post show. We're going to talk about the pay-per-view and our thoughts on everything. So stay tuned. Well, that's going to be it for me here this evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to seeing all of you next week across our shows. But from all of us here at BC Wrestle Pod to you at home, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. I will see you all next week for our shows. But until then, sayonara, adios, and until next time, peace.